Hi guys, back again with us at Recap in Minutes. This guy really likes movies, but he only watched one film in a row. He did it because he had fallen in love with the woman in the film. One night, a strange thing happened. The electricity suddenly went out, and a mysterious hand appeared from under the chair. This story begins with an old grandfather who has long lived in a hospital in Japan. One day, while he was being given medicine by one of the nurses, the wind suddenly blew hard and dropped several pieces of paper. The female nurse took it and saw a film script made by the grandfather. Intrigued by the script's story, the nurse asked grandfather to tell it. The film script tells of a magical experience that happened to a young man. The story begins by showing a handsome man named Kenji, an assistant director who is preparing a filming property. Kenji is a young man who really likes and loves movies. Coming home from work, he always watched a movie at one of the theater venues. Because he came to the theater very often, he was familiar with the theater owner and often borrowed the theater to watch films alone. Then he accidentally found a roll of film that had been stored there for decades. Out of curiosity, he played the role of the film. The film tells the story of a princess named Miyuki who is bored with life in the kingdom. Miyuki often ran away from the kingdom to release her boredom and meet new people. Miyuki, unlike most of the princess who has a gentle nature, Miyuki more likely to have a selfish nature and are adventurous. Every day after work, Kenji always takes the time to watch the old film. He greatly admired Miyuki's beauty and courage. Until one day the owner of the theater spreads bad news to Kenji. He said that he would sell the Miyuki roll film because the roll film was priced very expensive and could save the theater from going bankrupt. Kenji was very sad and begged the theater owner to stop selling the film roll. But the owner of the theater didn't care about Kenji's feelings, he insisted on selling it. Finally, for the last time, Kenji watched Miyuki's film with a sad and frustrated look. He also watched in the company of a bottle of alcohol until he got drunk. Then something strange happened. Miyuki, who was in the film, looked like she was looking at him. Kenji thought he was drunk, he ignored it and considered it a hallucination. Then Kenji, who was feeling sad, tried to reach Miyuki's face, which was seen on the theater screen. Suddenly the electricity in the theater screen goes out. Because there was no light there, Kenji walked by crawling termites. Suddenly there was a strange sound, made Kenji surprised and accidentally dropped his drink bottle. The drink bottle rolled and stopped when it hit someone's hand. Kenji was curious about this figure, he crept closer to the person. Kenji was shocked to see a woman whose body was black and white. Kenji believes that this woman is his crush, Princess Miyuki. Miyuki dashed out of the theater room. Outside, she was amazed when she saw the interior colors that were there. Miyuki proudly introduced herself from the movie Kenji watched. Suddenly the owner of the theater came and almost caught the two of them. They left there in a hurry. Kenji finally bring Miyuki to go home together to his house. In the morning, Miyuki looked very happy to see how beautiful the color of the sky was that she had never seen before. When Kenji was about to go to work, Miyuki didn't want to be left alone. She forces Kenji to take her too. Because Miyuki kept insisting, Kenji finally asked Miyuki to go. Kenji invited Miyuki to go to work in a cart. He covered Miyuki's body with a blanket so that people would not see Miyuki's strange body color. Feelings of joy made Miyuki play the wind flute that she brought from the film world. Their journey was stopped when Miyuki was curious about the three god statues that were there and made Miyuki unconsciously drop her wind flute. They both arrived at the filming location where Kenji worked. Kenji took Miyuki to an artist's makeup room. Kenji provided a dress and makeup tool to cover Miyuki's black and white skin tone. Kenji was waiting for Miyuki outside. When Miyuki came out of the room, he was very fascinated by Miyuki's beauty. She has also made up her skin color to make it look the same as everyone else. Kenji took Miyuki for a walk around the filming location, but suddenly Kenji had a very urgent job and had to leave Miyuki. Miyuki became alone, then she saw a painting that would later be used as a filming property. She picked up the paint that was there and began to color it carelessly. Initially Miyuki was scolded by the people who were there. But after seeing the resulting painting, they praised Miyuki as a very talented painter. One of the actors there praised Miyuki's work. When he wanted to greet her, she hit the actor with an umbrella. Guiltless Miyuki left there. Miyuki did not stop there. She broke into one of the filming locations, then she was scolded by the director. The director wanted to hit Miyuki, but she immediately kicked the director's legs and head. Miyuki went from there and took one of the dynamites that were on the set. Kenji, who brought Miyuki there, was rampaged by the actors and the film crew. Miyuki walked back to look at the filming location with a dynamite in her hand, then her gaze was diverted when she saw the filming property in the form of a snake. Miyuki threw the dynamite into one of the smoke bombs to be used for filming. Kenji was looking for Miyuki, but suddenly he was called by one of the crew there to bring a smoke bomb that would be used for filming. He took the smoke bomb that had been mixed by dynamite and handed it over to the crew there. The filming process went well, until the last scene of the dynamite bomb was used and finally exploded, causing chaos. Because Kenji is the person who carried the smoke bomb, he was interrogated at the police station and accused of being a terrorist. After leaving the police station, Kenji returned to the filming location. He met Miyuki again and she asked Kenji for help in finding her missing flute. But Kenji was already annoyed with Miyuki. Kenji refused Miyuki's request and said that since he met Miyuki his life had become a mess. Kenji finally left Miyuki. Kenji arrived at his office and suddenly it was raining. Miyuki tried on her own to find her beloved flute in the meadow where the statue of the three gods was located. Amidst the pouring rain, Miyuki almost gave up. At that moment someone using a red umbrella approached Miyuki. Kenji apparently caught up with Miyuki and helped her find the flute. With great effort, Kenji managed to find Miyuki's beloved flute back. Kenji finally apologized to Miyuki for his evil words. Miyuki was happy that she finally found her beloved flute. Suddenly the sky suddenly cleared again and the rain stopped. Seen a very beautiful rainbow. Kenji said there is a myth that if you see a double rainbow their wish will come true. They both promise that if the double rainbow appears, they will come back and see it together. The next day, Kenji received news that the assistant director was given the opportunity to write a film script. If their script is good, then they can debut as directors. Kenji was very happy to receive the news, but it turned out that the opportunity had been arranged by a girl named Toko. She persuaded her father, who is a director of a film company, to give the assistant director a chance. This was done because she secretly liked Kenji. At home at night, Kenji began writing the script for the film. The background of the story he made comes from his life story, starting from his liking for movies and until his meeting with Miyuki. While writing the script, Kenji is interrupted by a bored Miyuki. Then an idea occurred. He asked Miyuki's help to make story material for the script. He invited Miyuki to take a walk in the flower garden. However, Miyuki always avoided coming into contact with Kenji. Kenji has written one-by-one story based on their togetherness. From feeding each other, then to Kenji as if confessing feelings to Miyuki. Not only that, they always spend time walking together like lovers. In the afternoon, Kenji talked about wanting to make the story of their meeting into a film. Miyuki agreed to Kenji's wish, but she smiled wryly. The next day, Toko meets Kenji, who is working. She informed that the script he had made had been received and would be filmed. Kenji was very happy to hear the news. Finally, his dream to become a director can come true. The news was also accepted by other comrades. At night, Kenji took Miyuki to a river. He showed Miyuki how beautiful fireflies are at night. While sitting by the river, the two of them chatted. Then Kenji ventured to confess his love and proposed to Miyuki. But when he wanted to take something in his pocket, Miyuki suddenly replied that she couldn't accept Kenji's proposal. Kenji asked for an explanation about Miyuki's refusal. Then Miyuki was honest with Kenji that the reason she never wanted to be touched was because if she came into contact with humans she would disappear and couldn't be reunited with Kenji. She admitted that all this time, her goal in coming to the real world was to meet Kenji. Because according to Miyuki, only Kenji was the one accompanying her when everyone slowly forgot her. Because this made her fall in love with Kenji. But she knew because of her condition, she couldn't live with Kenji. Miyuki left Kenji alone. The next day, on his way to the filming location, he met one of his coworkers who asked about the progress of the script. However, because he was still heartbroken, Kenji could not finish the ending of the script story. Toko saw the languid-faced Kenji from a distance. Then Toko approached Kenji to cheer him up. And at that time, Toko expressed her love for Kenji. However, Kenji refused and left apologizing. At Kenji's house, Miyuki blew her flute sadly, then suddenly Kenji's coat that was hanging fell. Miyuki took the coat and looked at the ring box in the coat pocket. She took the box and opened it, showing a very beautiful red gem ring. Miyuki knew that the ring was an item that Kenji would give her at the night when Kenji proposed her. Miyuki ran over to Kenji's workplace. At that time Kenji was confiding to his friend about his proposal which was rejected by Miyuki. His friend suggested him to propose Toko, the girl who had been liking him for a long time. Because if he married her, he could become a successful director. Miyuki, who heard this, immediately gave up her intention of meeting Kenji. Then at night when Kenji came home, he found Miyuki going to leave with his suitcase. Kenji stopped her, but Miyuki wanted Kenji to be happy with other girl. He spat evil words to Kenji so that Kenji wouldn't stop her again. Miyuki was saddened by the decision she made, and suddenly rained. He took shelter in a telephone box, then suddenly the theater owner saw Miyuki taking shelter. He invited Miyuki to his theater, because he could not bear to see Miyuki like that. The theater owner finally allowed Miyuki to live in his theater. The next day, Kenji passed the path he always walked with Miyuki. Memories flashed through his mind. Because of the unbearable feeling of longing, he ran to meet Miyuki. He checked every place he had traveled with Miyuki, but he could not find her. Until tomorrow morning, when he passed in front of the theater, he met the theater owner. Because he saw Kenji's face that was very lethargic, he told Kenji that Miyuki was in the theater, but Miyuki didn't want to see Kenji. Elsewhere, Kenji meets Toko at work. Then Toko entertained Kenji by playing a word game that Kenji often did with Miyuki. Kenji is surprised that Toko knows the game. Then Toko told him that she was on the phone by Miyuki to meet up. Miyuki knows Toko likes Kenji, she asks her to stay by Kenji's side and love him sincerely. Miyuki also advised to cheer up Kenji when he was sad and hold his hand. Toko knows that Kenji really loves Miyuki, so she is willing to let Kenji go happily with Miyuki. Kenji was surprised by what was told by Toko. With tears in his eyes he thanked Toko for telling him and he ran to meet Miyuki. Kenji arrives at the theater and meets Miyuki. Kenji invited Miyuki to come home with him. However, Miyuki refused, because she was disappointed with herself that cannot be entertaining as well as touching Kenji. She felt she didn't deserve to be by Kenji's side, and her decision to leave Kenji was the best decision. For her breakup with Kenji, Miyuki asked Kenji to touch her first and last. That's the story the grandfather told him. The nurse who heard the story burst into tears. He asked the grandfather to continue his story, but the grandfather said that he had not written the ending of the story. Then from the door, a girl was seen standing. That girl is Miyuki, who has now worn the red gem ring given from Kenji. Miyuki walked in to meet the grandfather, who was none other than Kenji. The two of them were walking around the hospital area. Miyuki pushed Kenji's wheel. When Kenji was about to move to his seat he almost fell. Even though Miyuki wanted to help him, she still couldn't touch Kenji. The people who saw Miyuki didn't help, thought Miyuki was very cruel. Then Kenji told Miyuki about the film script he had made. He said there wasn't much time and he wanted to finish the script according to Miyuki's wish. The nurse passed Kenji's room. She saw Kenji was writing his film script. Then the script story continues again. When Kenji was about to touch Miyuki one last time, he gave up his mind because he didn't want Miyuki to disappear. He wanted Miyuki to be by his side forever. Miyuki, who heard that, was touched and promised to always be beside Kenji. That they both lived together again, and Miyuki always accompanied Kenji in joy and sorrow. One night Miyuki got a call from someone. After that, she ran fast to the hospital. When Miyuki arrived at the hospital, she saw Kenji who was already weak. Miyuki cried seeing Kenji's helpless state. With trembling hands, Kenji took off his oxygen and saying that he really loved Miyuki. Miyuki answered him, but Kenji fell silent because he was too weak to reply. Miyuki knew Kenji's life would not be long. She decided to hug Kenji's body and disappear together. For the first and last time Miyuki could feel Kenji's warm body. Kenji finally passed away along with Miyuki's body slowly disappearing. In the morning a nurse came to check Kenji's room. She saw the manuscript sheets that Kenji had finished. In the last scene that Kenji wrote, the two of them meet again and live forever without a single one missing. Okay guys, so that's the story from the Color Me True film, which has a very romantic story and an unexpected ending. Until here the video, and we hope you like our video. Just keep on watching and see you.